Welcome to another visit with Airbus. This one is very special because now we are in Mobile, Alabama at the Airbus production facilities here. They've got an A220 final assembly line and an A320 assembly line here. They've been here since 2015, A220 line I believe since 2019, and it's growing. They're about 2,000 employees right now, and they're going to be ramping up to 3,000. Obviously, if you watch the videos from Mirabel, the A220 production there, we talked a lot about the ramp up they're doing to make more aircraft per month. And a really cool thing for me about coming here is that when people think of Airbus, they certainly don't think of North America, but especially they don't think of the US and Alabama. You don't think of aircraft being made in Alabama, down here by the Gulf. They ship parts in on a big ship that comes into the port here. They also truck them down from Mirabel. What a cool, fascinating piece of aviation logistics to check out and to see how they've got a fully functioning thing here. They're churning out airplanes, getting them ready for customers in the US, and also recently started delivering to Latin America as well. So we're going to take a tour of this place, meet a lot of the people, see a lot of the things that are going on here, and it should be really fascinating. So come along with me and get to know Airbus in Mobile, Alabama.
Welcome, Gabriel. Really happy to welcome you here at the A220 assembly line of Mobile, which is one of the three lines, right? We got this one line here implementing the two lines that we have in Mirabel. I'm Vicente Iglesias, in charge of the A220 program for the US. As part of my roles and responsibilities, primarily I'm the managing director of this legal entity, Airbus US A220, that represents the program in the US, because as you may know, this is a joint venture. As opposed to our other legacy programs, this is a joint venture between Airbus, owning 75% of that JV, and the rest being with Investment Quebec. The first goal of the ramp up is to meet customer demand, right? So the good thing, typically I like to say that this is a good challenge to have because it means there's a high demand from our customer for the program. So that's the primary reason for growing. And here for Mobile, more to say is for the growth and the demand of our US customers. Right, we deliver here the aircraft in Mobile exclusively to our US customer when it comes to the A220 program, and their demand is high. They all have 100-ish aircrafts on order for those that we have here, and the US customer base represent in itself more than a third of all the orders that we have on the A220 program. So then there's all the collateral aspects of it. There's a good impact, a positive impact here in the environment, the ecosystem of Mobile, of the state of Alabama, which obviously helps the company and the community strive around that. We have a very good impact, let's say, in the community. And the community is helping us also achieve that ramp up. The global graduate program from colleges from around the state. We have our apprenticeship program also to help train the relevant profiles and candidates from the local communities into our Airbus system. And you will recognize those with the purple shirts. Really a win-win, this ramp up of Airbus for the customers on one end and for the community on the other end to serve, let's say, the business. You may know we have also an engineering center around here in Mobile, a defense and space facility, and a lot more around the country. And this is all about this whole ecosystem. And it's really exciting because it's all surrounding this growth. So the whole Airbus ecosystem in the region is growing together with our industrial footprint growth as well. So this is really exciting.
When the parts and the pieces come in, this will be the new inflow for all the logistics for the new line. So this area here will be where the parts will come in, and then we'll process them out through to the assembly line, which will be right on the side of it. Right above that we'll have a canteen for our employees, and above that some office space. This is our new supplemental utility plan. This is what is powering all the expansion and the site to come. This will complement our existing current utility plan and provide things like hydronics, cooling water, power, compressed air to not just the industrial footprint, but also to the office space that will come as part of the expansion. The teams are currently, at the moment, bringing this online. So as you can imagine, bringing such a plant online takes time, so they're currently making the connections, opening up those valves and making sure everything functions properly. And the cool thing about this new power plant is we've been able to implement some sustainable measures that will allow us to benefit from new technologies and new building management systems that will allow us to, in that sustainability effort, reduce our use of energy and CO2 and different things.
That is crazy.
So what they're doing now is they're hanging the new doors, which this will be where the aircraft comes out of the new assembly line. So as you can imagine, these are pretty sizable hangar doors that will open and close depending on whether the aircraft's coming or going, and they're in the middle of hanging them at the moment, which basically involves them laying them flat on the ground, then lifting them up and then hanging them to the frames that are already installed around the doors. So quite a heavy exercise, but they're making good progress on it, and it's good to see them making that good progress. Once those are on, we'll then cover them, and then those doors will close and allow us to encase the building. And at that point, we'll be able to provide the cooled air and start to condition the building for the first time in a couple of months. And that's when we'll be able to start getting the inside really finalized, get it ready.
So things are growing, things are happening here. They're adding a whole new final assembly line. They're extending the site of the Airbus footprint here. They should have completed adding 1 million square feet, which is almost doubling the total footprint of the Airbus site here. And this is going to be the new second final assembly line for the A320s. So interesting to see this building when it's constructed, but without all the stuff inside. You just get a sense of the scale of the place. It's amazing. And that's all part of this ramp up that they're doing. They're adding 1,000 employees by next year. It's a really ambitious project.
So this structure here will be our gauging canopy. When the aircraft comes off the new assembly line, this is where the aircraft will go for high-level fuel test and fuel system test for the first time. So the first time the aircraft receives fuel is right here in this hangar. Yeah, so what we do here is we bring the aircraft in. When it comes off the assembly line, we bring the aircraft in and we place it in position, and then we basically fill it with fuel and we test the systems. We check for leaks, because that's the first time that the aircraft receive fuel, so we get a good chance to see what the structure's doing and what the systems are doing. And then once that test is signed off, it then progresses through the industrial system from there. Okay, so through these doors on the end, when we go operational, this is where the first aircraft components will come. So they'll come through these doors. There's another one bigger on the other side. They'll come in through here, and these will be the first operational stations where the aircraft will transition through during its build process. So the reason you can see on the floor here there's lots of wood down is because the final finish of the floor is already done. So we've already epoxied, we've already finished it. So if you were to take these up, it would be nice and shiny, but obviously while we're still doing work, we want to protect that. So what you can see over there, just by the side of that red crane, those are the first fuselage pillars that have been installed by the tooling team that will hold the first fuselage section during station operations. So we're actually installing the actual tooling that the aircraft will sit on right at the same time where we're finishing off the building down one end of the site. Really excited to see that, and that's the point where it all starts to come together. If up to now we've just been construction and building, this is the bit where the jigs and tools teams and all the other teams get to come together and really have to work on top of each other. So lots of close collaboration, lots of good communication, but up to now it's working really well and the teams are doing a fantastic job. So.
All right, getting the exercise for the day, climbing to the top of this thing for what should be an amazing view.
There it is, you get to see the whole flow, all the way from the beginning, where the fuselage gets joined up, where the wings get assembled onto the aircraft and the landing gear, all the way through the line. You can see the complete flow and how it comes together now. So you can see the wings, you can see where the wing jigs are going to go, see where the pits are for the fuselage jigs, see where an aircraft goes and how it starts to take shape. So these two areas have been now taken over by the jigs and tools team. So they're already starting to install tooling or prepare this area for the tooling installs. You can see the next area to be handed over just there, where you can see the nice shiny floor, that when that gets handed over, That will then get protected and the team will move progressively through the line, installing the tools in the industrial system as we go. Handover between the construction teams and the tooling teams. As the tooling teams are installing very sensitive equipment and need the condition of the floors, the levelness, the points and the areas they're picking up on to be in exactly the right place, they do a very structured handover with detailed inspections to make sure they're okay with what they're receiving. Then once they've got it, they then move in and start installing any challenges. They work between the teams to overcome and resolve them, and up to now the teams are doing a fantastic job. The aircraft, once it's assembled, has 3 full positions to transition through before it moves out for more completion positions. Then it goes to gauging, then it goes to paint, and then it goes into a completion area where we finalise what could be complex or advanced cabin, if we have certain cabin types in, or the aircraft gets finalised for its final operational test, ready to make sure all those systems function, all the tests are done, all the inspections are done, ready for handover to the flight line where they take over for the flight test. So.
We are responsible for the supply chain operations for the mobile manufacturing site. We are handling all the materials, large components for 320, 220 that are coming from either Europe or suppliers out of the US to the site, or that are coming from Canada and their supply chain onto 220 to the site. Having warehousing space in 3 different locations. If not them on site, we have them off site on 3 locations, around about 200,000 square feet, and have some local distribution areas for large components where we are here in the transshipment hangar. 2 additional warehouse market spaces in the LCX called Local Distribution Center for the 2 systems in the back. Our flow in general starts, and I can guide you a little bit to the flow chart here, starts in Hamburg, where our main hub for material for mobile manufacturing site is. Here, the majority of our single aisle material, we are producing the single aisles here, and 220 is being packed in the ship and delivered by general cargo containers to the ship. Round about 12 containers per aircraft will be on the ship, arriving at different ports. You see Charleston, you see Mobile, you see Houston. We are currently working on the future. That means on getting the general cargo on our own ships that then in the future may leave out of Saint-Nazaire, where our MCAs are already leaving, and arriving directly in Mobile, which gives a huge sustainability effort when you see that general cargo currently is depending on where we get the good rates on the overall system, which reduces our lead time of material supply around about 50% compared to what we have currently. And on the other side, we will have new ship generations. We ordered, and you may have seen it in the news, 3 new ships with e-sails. That means where we have significant reduction of CO2 emissions, which should support our ambition on a sustainable aerospace, because transport makes around about 80% of the overall CO2 footprint of Airbus in general.
So right now this means that the fastest route is via Charleston,
yes,
when you're leaving Hamburg, and
yes,
then trucking the rest of the way.
Exactly, and this is the crazy thing. We have to enter somewhere, and Mobile is young. That means the ecosystem around Mobile is not used to serve what we need with regards to our lead times. That means we have entry points in Charleston and Houston where the big ships are arriving. Nevertheless, Mobile port is growing. It's the largest growing port in the US, currently, or second largest. I don't have the final figures, but the Mobile system is growing. That means we are shipping far more here. We have far more big carriers coming here, and we take advantage of this as well. In the past, Mobile was stepped over from time to time for ships that go to Houston or that go to Charleston. In the future, with the growing port and with our ships directly, we can avoid this additional delay in time and get our supply chain very sustainable here. And the good thing is, in supply chain, we are one of those who can really support this and can help to grow the Mobile site here. Shall we have a look?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good. What we are doing here is actually the large component handling operations from what we get from the sea with special sea jigs, and we can see them in a second, onto trolleys that can be handled and that can be moved into the line. You can see A320 front section, rear section on these movable trolleys. This is loading bay, so actually they are arriving from the ship. We get in here, they are loaded, picked up, put on the jigs here, and then transported to the FALs by our aircraft tugs or by smaller tugs we have outside. We are around about handling 1,500 components a year here per aircraft, large components plus small parts on top we're seeing. This is as well something that developed with the ecosystem. Suppliers are coming here that are doing business for us. On the other side of the county, in Baldwin County, there are suppliers situated that handle the engine cowling, that develop as well the ecosystem for Mobile to get more suppliers around here and not get everything shipped from the outside, to make us far more resilient, make us sustainable with regards to transport costs. VTPs coming from Stade as well on the boat, HTPs coming from Getafe as well, everything on the boat for us. The boat supply is the one. We were wishing to get the Beluga somewhere at some point here. So far there's no need, as well through the fact that flying this long distance is not as sustainable as with a boat, and with the new boat routes and with the new technologies we will have a far more efficient system than if we would go for the Beluga. For us, always some challenge how we manage with the space available and with the sections to come.
What a fascinating and complex process this is to get all these pieces, components from large to small. This is where we see the larger ones, wings, VTPs, HTPs, fuselage, getting them all here at the right time in order to fit them into the final assembly line to make a completed aircraft. And they're coming from all over the world on various modes of transport. This A220 fuselage here has been trucked down from Mirabel. You imagine that journey. And then you have pieces that have come in on ships, HTPs, VTPs. There's a wing over there, came from Belfast, A320 fuselage over here, engines, you name it. And it's all coming through here, and they have to manage getting it here in time, storing it safely until it's ready to be put into the production line. Really cool.
Great thing on increasing the rate is have to increase as well space. What we do on one side with material, where we are targeting to build a new warehouse, is that we have to extend as well this building. We get them delivered like this, so they are unmounting the engine out of the transport jig and positioning them to some of these blue trolleys to allow them to be moved into the line and to be positioned under the wing when they are used to fit to the aircraft. One of the most critical component here, in fact, due to the value of the component, for sure our MCAs from the value in total are more expensive, but on the specificity to handle the engines, for sure it's something of one of the most expensive and most critical components we do have here.
It's encapsulated in there, and then they've already removed the lid, and then they open the cowlings up, and then we're getting ready to do the lid.
Each and every component is different, which gives to the team a very high need of understanding, okay, how they handle which kind of component and how they, with specific skills, with specific understanding of each and every component and each and every component specifically. This is where how the MCAs are arriving. They're put on the CJIG either in Saint-Nazaire or in Hamburg, delivered to Saint-Nazaire, put on the boat, fixed on the boat, and then from the harbor by truck and by MAFI delivered to this site, stored here, and then taken off the CJIG to the white trolleys and getting back. These jigs have to return because it's a milk run. So that means if we are too late or we are not on time with getting them cleared, the ship need to wait, or we need to get more the second time the ship. It's a whole orchestra, and which jig need to be when, where, and the full planning team in Toulouse is working on the right scheduling to get production material, but as well the equipments at the right place, the right time. We need to reshape the whole area here to accommodate all the aircrafts that are supposed to come for the future, as well because we need to understand which decoupling we need from Europe will be more than this.
Now we've come over to the delivery center, and I've been to the delivery center in Toulouse. Obviously that's more of a grand affair, but this demand is really high right now for single-aisle aircraft. A lot of aircraft being delivered, so they're building this new facility over here that'll be part of the delivery center. There's aircraft parked over there. A lot of interesting brand new single-aisle Airbus out there. Yeah, that'll be part of the facility too when it's open, before too long I think. But cool building. And it's nice and cool as well. It's super hot outside. Boiling hot with humidity, just as you might expect for this part of the world.
The Delta that you see here will fly this afternoon. And guess how we follow them online? We use Flight Radar, absolutely. We use Flight Radar 24 to track them, see how the flight profile is going, and making sure they go all the way. And those production flights can typically last around 4 hours. So it's quite extensive flight testing that we do. It takes some time, so really exciting part of the build process and testing process.
headed over to FlightWorks, Alabama now, which is just next to the Airbus Center, and it's a joint venture between Airbus and the state of Alabama, and it's all about a key aspect of what's going on here, which is having to do with workforce development, making sure that there are people who can fill the ranks, can do these highly specialized and skilled jobs, and it's a part of being an integral part of the community as well, building up the community and showing people that they can get a great job in aerospace right here and they don't have to go away.
When Airbus first looked at Alabama, they were competing for the tanker project. So that was in 2006. So we won it, it appealed, we lost it in 2011. But we had already built the relationships with Alabama. We already had the site. We had already done a lot of due diligence on why this was a great place for us to locate. We said, okay, Alabama, Mobile, hold on. Let us go build a business case and see if it makes sense for us to build a single-aisle aircraft here in Mobile. So it took us about a year to do the entire business case. And in 2012, we signed the agreement and announced that we were going to build the A320 aircraft here in Mobile. And we had a big party, big announcement. It took us about a year to construct the first phase. So in 2016, when we delivered our first aircraft, the JetBlue, Blue's Mobile, we met with the state of Alabama because we knew that a lot of people wanted to tour Airbus. We knew we had this opportunity when people come in to tell them not only the Airbus story, but the story of aviation in Alabama and the story in general. We wanted to show that it was more than just being a pilot or being an engineer. So we took the opportunity to say, let's build an education center that's focused on workforce development. We started construction in 2019 and opened in 2020. But if you walk around, it tells the story of aviation in general. So we start with design. So we talk about the forces of flight and the principles of flight. And in each of the areas, we give discovery spots. So if you really like design, you can do these types of jobs in design in aviation, and talks about what they do on a daily basis, what kind of education is required, what kind of salary range you might expect in Alabama if you were one of these positions. We talk about the fly-by-wire, which is Airbus A320. There's a test wind chamber, so you can put in the airfoil, and over here it tells you what kind of plane it's on, and then the fan starts, and once the fan gets to a certain speed, you can actually see the effect when you move the airfoil. So, and then you can stall it out.
Hi there. The Airbus aircraft production facility is an exciting place to work. Want to know more about the career opportunities right here in Mobile? Maybe you could help us build A320 or A220 aircraft. Select a role you would like to explore from the small touchscreen below.
Let's see, what do I want to do? Avionic technician, wow.
So what we wanted to do was show students when they visited what the individuals do on a daily basis, if they're on the aircraft, if they're on the floor, if they're men, if they're women, different races are shown, because when the students are there, they want to see somebody who looks like them, so they know they can be this when they grow up. Here we have the simulator, so students can fly or land the A320. They can also fly the Eurofighter, so they get that opportunity, and it flies out of Brooklyn. Airbus does a lot of VR to introduce the product. So we have 11 different scenarios, and over here we start talking about the manufacturing. So we bring in art, they can design their own livery. We talk about rivets, so this is a rivet race, so we gamified it, and they can shoot rivets, and it's a race. And when you get in an aircraft, of course, we've removed walls and labs, but you can see what a cockpit looks like. You can see the finished part of the aircraft and then the unfinished part of the aircraft. The fun thing for students is we get a lot of students who come in here and role play, because a lot of them have never been on an airplane before. So they get an opportunity to pretend to be a flight attendant, pretend to be a pilot, or just a passenger. We wanted to show our guests things that they typically don't see even when they fly. So they see a black box, and we talk about why it's not black.
Yeah.
But they also see the difference in the windows and difference in the parts. So why is this part this light, but why is this part so heavy? We talk about what each of the parts do. So it gives everybody just a little glimpse of the aviation industry, what positions, careers are available, and then a lot of times we take them on a tour of the A320 and A220 lines. our CEO said there's got to be a workforce development pipeline directly from high schools into Airbus, which we had never done before, because when we first came here, we required that individuals had 5 years of aviation experience. So when he said, how can we get them directly from high school to Airbus, there's no way. So we worked with some educators, colleges, and NC3, who provides industry recognized certifications in manufacturing and Snap-on tools. So we put together a curriculum that is now partnered with our local HBCU two-year technical college, Bishop State, and we allow them to earn 18 credit hours, college credit hours, while going through a program called Flight Path 9, and this is a pre-employment training program. Once they finish that, they become apprentices at Airbus. So we built this curriculum. It's for middle schools. It's called We Build It Better, and what we did was it's all focused on product design and invention and innovation. So we talk about safety, they learn about the Wright brothers, they build a Wright brothers flyer, learn about what kind of team member you are, but then they also learn about precision measurement and accuracy in manufacturing. We give them a 3D printer in the next one, and they learn how to design and the business principles, what happens if you mass produce it and sell it. Then they learn about hand tools, and they build an A320. And what happens if you want to power your product. So they start learning about electricity and multimeters. They start with batteries and a breadboard and light up lights and buzzers. But then they go into coding. So they take those same lights and buzzers and they code the Raspberry Pis to make them light up instead of using the batteries. We are in over 20 states, over 500 classrooms, over 60,000 students, the UK and France. And then Snap-on and the teachers and the schools came to us and said we need something for elementary school, because we really want to create that pipeline from K-5 to middle school to high school where they're earning the certifications through the NC3 program. So we developed We Will Build It Better. This gives STEM curriculum for different grades, 12 to 15 hours each grade, that they can reuse and teach at multiple classes. But it gives them tools, it teaches them the basics of measurements. You saw the measuring cups. There's literacy in there, but we gamified in both programs how to learn, because that's what's keeping the students engaged. But here's the cool part. Not only are we teaching them how to use tools and teaching them all the STEM principles and those types of things, we're seeing lower absenteeism. We're seeing higher math grades. We're seeing kids who work well together because we're making them work in teams. So the school systems have called us and said, we need more, because what we saw after they left school for COVID is when they came back, they didn't work well together, or their math grades were suffering. So because these programs engage the children, they are into it, they are learning, they want to come to school, they want to learn, they want to do better.
This has been such a nice experience visiting Airbus here in Mobile, Alabama. Not only for the usual fun, seeing aircraft being created and rolled into the flight line and delivered to customers, and this whole incredibly complex and high-tech production process moving in this streamlined way, creating 100 aircraft a year out of this place, but also the fact that all that's happening here in Alabama, which is a place I've never been to before today. I don't know anyone from here, and although I did know that aircraft are being made here because I pay a lot of attention to the aviation industry, most people have no idea that they're building airplanes in Mobile, Alabama. But more than that, what's been so nice and honestly kind of heartwarming is to see how everybody throughout this organization here, their focus is really on just what a positive role Airbus plays and can play in the local community and the local economy. And so that's obviously because they want to develop talent, find people to come and work here, especially as they're expanding. They need more and more people. But it's also a net positive for everyone. If people here can find jobs, can get trained up, can do apprenticeships to do these kinds of highly skilled work, and find that they can stay here in order to get a great job instead of having to move away somewhere else. Or if they were interested in aerospace, they can be right here. And then Airbus and the community seem to have this really nice symbiotic relationship. And together, Airbus and the community have created this kind of beautiful thing over here. They're making airplanes and people are finding great jobs, and from what they tell me, once people start working here, they tend to stay. And it's a pipeline for young people, and as we've seen here at Flightworks Alabama, it's a way for even grade school kids to get inspired by learning about the building blocks of what will lead to high-end skilled aviation jobs, getting interested in aviation in this part of the world where a lot of us don't traditionally associate it with aviation. And so that's just such a cool thing to see, and I love seeing that they're expanding, they're building out all this new infrastructure to be able to create more planes to ramp up production, to meet the demand. There's a lot of demand. Obviously, aviation, very cyclical business, but right now things are looking up and the mood here is really optimistic, and everyone here on top of that is just so nice, so friendly, so hospitable, and it's been so cool to come here and meet some of them and see what they do here. I hope to have more excuses to come back as they grow. I'm sure I will. I'll look for those excuses for sure now. Mobile, Alabama has won me over. And of course, Airbus, as always, super grateful to them for opening up their doors. So, from Mobile, Alabama, for Flight Radar 24, I'm Gabriel Lee. See you next time.